Here we are. Hmm. Feels like longer than a week this time. We have come off the heels. Friday night we landed back in Oyotunji a little bit before midnight from the Growing Goddess in the Earth Haven Eco Village, which is where we were all last week. And so what a joy. I want to share with you just the inspiration of that. I was looking here through my journal and my notes as we were coming forward, and I was writing in there on some night in the tent, and it rained every day in the eco village. It was kind of like being in a little rainforest, because you'd wake up and the sun would be good, and there you are in the beautiful, just beautiful, I can't even say how beautiful nature is, tucked into this little valley down there. I think it's near Old Fort, North Carolina. And I really did. I said, wow. And I had been looking forward to being in my tent. I don't know. I try to share that with folks that maybe haven't done camping or haven't done enough of being in nature, and to just give forth like the energy of how wonderful it is when you are part of the habitation of all our relations, and your heart is just really laying right on the heartbeat of the mother every night. And yeah, what occurred to me is, for me personally, what a difference 5 days and nights in the woods makes. And yes, it's raining, and yes, it's damp, but not quite like the cushy of your home or air condition or those types of things. But we didn't even have a phone signal, no internet, no interruptions. So literally, just the reconnection with nature at that base level. Like, I live here for the next 5 days, and a friend was asking me, says, sound like you had a great week. And I was like, well, the most tremendous thing is that the noise of the world was cut out of it. And so, over and above the amazing maidens that I want to give a big prop to, all of my Growing Goddess and Moon Mystic sisterhood, I tell you what, if you had any worry about this world whatsoever, let me tell you, there are some young ones coming up that, my goodness, are so stout, it'd just back you up, and you just be like backed up. Last year we had, of course, in better conditions, no pandemic, no cultural race wars, like about 40 or so. And this program is one of a few camps that are led by Earth Path Education, Lena S. Rourke, Estes, or Estes Rourke, I think it is. And what a brave soul she is. What a brave soul. And as she was going forward, about a month ago, and I was like, okay, we were just holding that intention. I was like, okay, Lena. And, she's that type of soft, light being, soft lighthouse, so frequency vibration so high, and while some people run into Lena and say, oh, ooh, is she airy fairy? and other people like, oh, I don't know, you can't ever tell, but she's mystical, she's magical. And, they try to say good things. But as we were moving forward to this time in the woods, I have to say that my soul looked out at Lena very curiously in conversations between my ancestors and her ancestors. And I thought, this is not a young woman that would want any sick child to come back, or even the sense that a child came to her camp and went back to their home and took the COVID back to a relative. So however she has planned to be in the woods with all of us, I'm quite certain that she has, not only very good protocols for the pandemic, but just a general consciousness that says either we believe what we believe or we don't. And I felt that the whole time in the self-care, shelter in place and quarantine, and everyone's closed in. And of course, now give thanks. You pretty much can't get in anywhere, really. You can't be in any public place without a mask. And so the evolution of that in the last week has maybe shifted us slightly in the right direction. But here we were, and I want to say in total, we were about 32, counting the staff and the young girls and then the very young girls. And to say that I was out in these woods with 10 and 11-year-old maidens, and I mean not just from around the neighborhood in North Carolina, but from Atlanta, from New York. You know, their parents drove them down in a car to do this rite of passage. It's a very stout program. There's no question, hands down, it's a very stout program. But in the face of a pandemic and the sacrifices and the real push and determination that you would have to pack up your car and your child and leave upstate New York and drive her down to the mountains of North Carolina to participate in this week. It shortened. I think last year we were about 7 to 10 days. This week we were only 4 to 5. And again, less people, very strong protocols and social distance. But over and above the protocols that we even are doing in our public interactions with one another, we lived in such a consciousness in the woods for the week. No, there wasn't any hugging or, just outlandish, but there also weren't any masks, and there, lots of hand washing and sanitizing and just common sense, which is what we knew, and again, this eco village is pretty well protected in a national forest. It's not like you have populations of people in there where you would be worried, and even the residents, this was a hidden valley, which is kind of nature unto itself in the center of this eco village, further out or where people live and move and are around. So, there's a real stillness in nature there. Well, I have to say, the very first day the girls arrived on Monday, and we were intent upon building an inipi and doing the ceremony of inipi on the first day, Monday. And how amazing to see 10 and 11-year-olds enter a sweat lodge. And so we had our ceremony of tea with Tiaroni, stories of how we live with our herbal allies, how we come into relationship with our herbal allies. But I have to say, I looked around, I had mostly the younger girls. The Moon Mystics was still over here, and it's now at night. It's now after the sun's gone down, and the Moon Mystics are finishing up the final ties and so forth on the Inipi. And I looked around at these young maidens and I said, who are you? Who are you that we would find ourselves gathered together like this in the middle of a pandemic, and that you are here fearless? About the most emotional rock that you had for any of these girls was, of course, the really young ones that maybe had never slept away from home before, or been away from home for that many days. So we had a little bit of the homesickness, but my report is every one of them faced their fears and passed through, and so many of the girls and the elder staff gave them, just tremendous support. You can do it, you can do it. And of course, by Friday, when we were complete, how proud were they of themselves that they rode that emotional roller coaster of, oh, this is what it is when mom and dad aren't around and every day, and I don't see them before I go to bed at night, or I don't see them when I get up in the morning. And so I just have to say that sweat lodge went all night. There's one, that was another flag up in the air. Who are these young maidens? that the ceremony, I don't know, it might have begun around 11:30, like, and I was just in that mystical area, you know, like Gil Scott, the first minute of a new day. I was like, whoa, how amazing is this to be just gathered together with our prayers, with water and the elements on the stone people as the day becomes new into Tuesday. And so little did we know that no one had really counted the rocks, and my sister Aisa, um, thought that we were moving forward with 7 stones for each of the 4 rounds. And when we got to the 4th round, the fire tender said, "Oh no, you have more than 20 stones still in here." And so, of course, we would never ask the stones to survive, then and to be activated into that glowing, beautiful red of the heartbeat of them, and then allow them to just sit and not be used. So of course, we'll stay in the lodge. Of course, we'll go to round 5. Bring all those stones in. And we added an extra round to our prayers. And you know, from there, it was a week of staggered again, so that we had smaller groups. I think groups of maybe 5 or 7 made drums. That went on for 3 days. And when they weren't doing that, they were over in the red tent with teachings about their moon time and the evolutions of womanhood and how to safely and gently be gentle with yourself and moving through all the flux of hormones and emotions that comes with this time. And then, of course, when they came over to me, we gathered and made medicine pouches and had very, very, very good conversations about living life as a medicine bag. And what tools did we need in our medicine bag? And what symbols should be on our medicine bag for these times specifically? For ourselves, what are the medicines that we are really, really mastering our relationship with in terms of our own self-care and wellness? And then what things do we carry along, like parfleche, the traveling medicine bag, when we want to have the sacred? We just need a candle and maybe some incense and, you know, a vessel to hold water. So, and we'll be able on the earth, so that wherever we are and wherever we pull out our traveling medicine bag, then there also we have the 4 elements. There also we can create and activate the sacred. It was a tremendous time. It just was a tremendous time. You know, parts of the passage for our older girls, our moon mystics, was the breaking arrow ceremony, where they just break through some of the things that they wanted to release or shatter the illusions that they may have hung on to since girlhood, and, you know, kind of evolve those, roll those over in the evolution of moving toward your womanhood. Amazing, amazing, amazing every single time. One young lady, when she went toward the prayers after her arrow was broke, you know, she just wrote this provocative letter to herself. Dear self, this is a wake-up call. You are so worthy to be in this time in the world in a loving and compassionate way. I'm telling you, the words that came out of these 14 and 15-year-olds, just amazing, astounding. And then our little young growing goddesses, 10, 11, 12, who say, yeah, I'll take off. I'll be a seeker for the day. I'll go sit in a circle of cornstarch up in the mountain by myself and just upon some of the things, have that long conversation without interruption with the soul of myself. And they did, and we sang them off, and we sang them back, and we witnessed them so wonderfully in their stories. My goodness, some saw coyote, some saw some crawlers, just amazing, a moth that came and landed right here. And she said, then the moth came and landed on my chest, and we talked for the longest time. Our young people, absolutely fully engaged, I'm telling you, in their relationship with nature. And this is, it's a page starter. It's a page turner. It's where to make the pivot. People keep reaching outside of themselves into the external wahala, we call it here. Wahala, just more to KK. Just things way off the rails, way off the rails. There are no more rails. And down in nature, where we will wake up, of course, in the conversations of the winged ones, and every now and then a hawk cross over, or a crow come through and caw that sacred law to say, you all got it right. Y'all stay right in here and make your prayers and have those conversations, move through the tides of your emotions so that you return to the communities that you live in stronger and of more resolve. And this shining example of, wow, you went and hung out and somehow your common sense stopped you from putting your hand in that bowl of apples. I know a couple of times we all, got caught in the things that we would normally do, and then we drew back and said, oh, that's right. We want to make sure, doubly sure, that we are constantly doing hand sanitizer, washing of hands, careful how we touch things, careful how we share the scissors and the needles and things like that. But that's all it took. All it took was the love of community and our village and our sisterhood to say, I'm watching. I'm watching everything that I do that might affect your wellness. And I know you're watching everything that you're doing that affects my wellness. And it just really, 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 and I knew it would. I somehow, I just knew that in the sacredness of the woods, that does not get trampled necessarily, because people just aren't out here. They're in the cities protesting, or, watching the headlines, or however they're passing the time through this pandemic. And then in the woods, all these plants. Yesterday we were getting the weeds up and putting new plants out and making room for our two beautiful elephants that made it from the mountains. Sacred Earth Mama was holding these elephants, and now here they are anchoring our front door. And and seeds in the house, and we're ready to just keep expanding out here on the compound and have every confidence, which is what we're going to speak to you about a little bit this morning, of moving forward toward the west gate of fall into our fall quarter. And when we, ended off there, we were all a little sad, but I remember it well. We did our spring quarter for the Mystic School of Alchemy, and we were on lockdown in Louisiana at the time. And every week we have temple time, Tuesday night, about an hour or 90 minutes, depending on how many are on the call, where we share various teachings. And when we finally came to the end of that 6 or 8 weeks, I was like, I kind of have bittersweet emotions. Parts of me is like really ready for us to take a little leave from each other, a little leeway, and apply some of the tools that we've learned in the spring quarter on our own to see, feel our strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats, our SWOT. And part of me wants to see you guys every week, and so, but we did. We closed out the spring quarter, and then, of course, for the summer quarter, we did our summer solstice lighthouse summit. And if you haven't had a chance to check in on some of the good information that went down during that time in June, you can find it on the Kindred of Sangoma YouTube channel. But so anyway, we never like to get ahead of it. And even though people say, oh, yeah, you ought to do more lives, or, you ought to, send out more videos. And I'm very careful about it. I truly am. For one thing, we are in the age of hop on and just start talking, maybe in love with the sound of their voice, maybe have all the good intentions in the world. But I do not hop on. I really wait until it is that I understand a little bit. I can perceive just a taste or a vibration of the song that divinity wishes to play through this flute before we share that with all of cyberspace, or those who join us live, or those who will come into seeing this a little bit later on. So we're going to just go over that. Number one, because we are recording, and then when people ask us, well, what's going to happen in the fall quarter, I will be able to direct them to this particular video and say, well, I actually went through the entire curriculum as was downloaded to me from the angels and the ancestors, and here are the intentions that we're holding for the fall quarter, the cooler season, fall, the leaves turning beautiful, beautiful colors, and you know, hold these prayers and hold these intentions with us. And very much like Alina, we do believe what we believe, and we do believe that in a certain level of consciousness that's above the fray, that is above the fear, that is above what can pull us back, you know, and go toward what pulls us forward. We hope that we have two in person, where a few people, not a lot, a few people, maybe 6 to 8 people, will join us here in Oyotunji African Village, which of course this is our 50th year celebration. And so moving toward King's Day in October, there'll be lots of big doings going on around Oyotunji, and we will be spending a lot of time in an upgrade of our compound, getting our bamboo decor for the compound set, and various rooms cleared out here and structures up. And so there will be lots of homesteading skills going on, but on 2 particular weekends. And as we share the schedule with you, we wanted to do that early here at the end of July, so that those who really feel like they live in a confidence and an assurance that they can come into the presence of others. And we have to be very careful depending upon where we are traveling from. I know one of the reasons that we all felt very safe and secure in Growing Goddess was because we understood, number one, most of the participants were very isolated, and those that were not, you know, given to shelter in place, like the young children, that their parents would say, oh no, you have to go to camp, so you are definitely quarantined a week or two, no one, before you go. And they did. And we are asking, of course, the same thing before people come and travel to us here in Sheldon, South Carolina, about 45 minutes south of Charleston, 45 minutes north of Savannah. But you can't find anything like it anywhere else, that's for sure. We've been here 50 years, and over and above the history and the temples and the culture that's right here on the grounds where we want to go into our fall quarter, we're also nearby the beach. We also have an opportunity to do a day or a day and a night over at a couple of beaches. We have Edisto, and then we have Huntington. And of course, because there are so many lighthouse teachings, and there's a lighthouse at Huntington Beach, we don't know how that will go forward, but we're excited about it. So we're going to start the season in September, and the official opening, I believe that the registration for the Mystic School of Alchemy will open around Labor Day, September 1st, around that first weekend. And then we will begin our first Tuesday temple night on Tuesday the 15th. And that first gathering here on the land will be that Thursday through Sunday. It's the dark moon in Virgo. Can really set some powerful intentions. I'm excited about that. And that's September 17th through 20th. And we'll be in celebration of the dark moon. I don't know, back there in the woods, we're really hoping to construct our own inipi here. And so maybe that will be something that we get into as we roll upon the fall equinox. Then we will definitely set the tone for our fall quarter with adventures and explorations into nature, culture, and spirit. And you know, this theme really came to our upgrade of teachings last year in the Air Skills events at the end of 2019, basically because of the whining, really, the whining and the hardships people were having with where our world was going. Little did they know. And so we began to use words like adventure or exploration, so that we could, you know, look through our lens in a little bit different manner. It's always whether or not you're looking through the glass dirty or clean, half full or half empty. And so when we look into these adventures and explorations into nature, culture, and spirit, we have to say, having done these a few times, of course, most people, all people that were children once and played outdoor, they understand nature to a degree. Do they know all of the families of trees or plants or insects? Or maybe not, but that could be an adventure. It's like, yes, I love the beach, I love when it rains, I love, you know, a field of sunflowers, but have I dug deep into the cycles and the seasons of nature, and how my body rhythms and my human emotions can be in alignment with that movement in nature itself, with the beautiful, beautiful earth. And, you know, culture, well, not so much. See, this was the one that was missing. Spirit a little bit, because, you know, either you were raised in church or not, or, you know, you had some type of gatherings and ceremonies or rituals of some type that made you at least question who you were as a spiritual being. But culture, not so much. A minute ago, we thought it was baseball and apple pie, but, or for America anyway. You know, for those of us now that can see the beauty and the wisdom in the many, many, many variations of cultures of indigenous peoples all across the globe, so much that we really must return to. We really must return to, not only as a basic of our survival, but definitely as the foundation of our ability to thrive through these times. And thriving, we're hoping that these particular offerings that are being offered this fall will secure us moving toward the age of Aquarius. The age of Pisces is closing out, and by the solstice, the winter solstice, December 21st, we will have finally arrived at the age of Aquarius, which is built on detachment. And, you know, I wonder every day, are we detached enough? You know, 130,000 people who have ascended off the planet, and, you know, a question of well, who's in charge of the Hunger Games? We now want to send children into unsafe situations in schools, or, you know, is somebody sipping some Kool-Aid that says that people can re-jump or jump-start the economy? See, none of that makes sense. So we have to lean in to where is the recalibration of our sacred navigation. I know that's how I'm moving in my truck. I don't have any fear. I just know that in moment by moment, I'm recalibrating how I move. What are my inner GPS signals matching up with the little lady in the phone who's guiding me wherever I'm going? And no, I don't want to go to the wrong gas station, crowded, or people not paying attention and this type of thing. I want the ancestors and the angels and the inner GPS, my intuitive body, to know exactly where to go, and to remain in that beautiful, beautiful aura of wellness, enough, that lighthouse that has enough light beaming out of it, that as we go any level of darkness, be that ill intent, be that very hurtful things that are going on between the races right now, whatever it is, we don't have to have any fear about it, because our light continues to be fed and grow in brilliance, just like those campfires. You continue to feed that fire. That fire, it just grows bright. I love the way that my sister Claire worked so diligently with these maidens all week long, and she had one maiden assigned to just tend that fire, she said, because she knew she was taking them real fast. The first day she finished those drums, I'm telling you, they finished after breakfast at 8 o'clock. They started, and they finished before then. And I looked at Claire, because I've made a hoop drum like that 3 days. And the only difference was, of course, she brought the hides in. And so some of our time in the drum making, of course, was in cleaning the hides and so forth. But phenomenal that 18 drums she made. And if she was sitting here talking with me now and sharing with you, she'd say it was that fire. It was the strength of the fire whenever we thought that we were tired or we were losing our focus. And you know, for young girls like that, 11, 12, 13, to stay diligent and focused for 8 solid hours to make that drum. They had the power of the campfire, the main fire, the sacred fire. And so these are the things that we want to build upon, and you won't find it. I'm flat out, I'm convinced of it. I was convinced of it before this week, but I knew when I got in the woods and lived it, and it was my experience to embody who we are and how we behave in nature in the midst of a world that's in a pandemic and going through some things, that you either come out sure and more confident or not. And for me, I came out more sure and more confident that you live differently in the box. I'm telling you, in the house with the news and the headlines going, and you're worried about this and this. No, there has to be like your car. Like my husband is, he is so serious about every 3 months or every 3,000 miles. So serious that that's when the car gets the tune-up, and we should begin to think about that. You know, because we are having to balance a world where, yes, we can hold a certain level of sacred in our shelter, in our home, in our hearth, but there is, and I'm here to tell you, another level of sacred in nature that you can't recreate it, you can't duplicate it, not even in your backyard. It's close, but it is not the same. And so once we open up our fall season for the Mystic School of Alchemy, just looking over some of the adventures and explorations in nature and culture and spirit that in the wider term, and I'm going to direct you to the Classroom Collective Facebook, which while I was up in the woods, Earth Mama did post a survey that we put there, where you can go, and we're going to certainly, you know, pay attention, focus in on what's really up for people. Don't have us put words in your mouth. Don't have us say what's really up for you in dealing with releasing the negativity, releasing the toxicity, how to hold your strength and your conviction. Where is your resolution for moving forward? Winter is coming. It is. And so I don't know. The unemployment rolled out, ran out for some people. God bless it. Don't you have prayers this morning for the people that might get eviction notices this week simply because your Congress and the people that you vote in there haven't extended this help. And so then what, a bigger population of the homeless, as if we didn't have a big enough population of the homeless even before we got here. You see what I'm saying? And so even if we are blessed or privileged to be in the center of our own sanctuary and our own safety bubble, there are many people who are not. And energetically, whether you meet some of these folks at the gas station or the grocery store or whatever, you will come in contact with them. And having, really like that tune up or that battery recharge, having really stopped yourself up well, kind of like that gathering squirrel medicine. Stock yourself up well for the winter, that you have enough to give out. Your cup is overflowing, so that some of your light and some of your positivity, some of your assuredness, some of that confidence, to those who are trembling a little bit. They trembling, they shaking, they fearful. They don't have as many plus signs in the room, maybe, as you do. And so these are the things that we say apply, these mystical schools, these alchemical tools. So let's get back to it. We wanted to speak basically about the framework of these adventures and explorations and under the bigger umbrella of, like, how do you do that in the midst of a pandemic and in the midst of cultural race wars? Again, we're checking our sacred navigation tools, what we know about it. What do we know about medicine wheels? What do we know about disciplines? What do we know about the inner discipline that has to keep the immune system on top? Our antivirals, our teas, usnea, ginger, turmeric. What do we really know about these? Like, we know who we gonna face pop with on the Facebook thing. You got to call in these allies up close and personal, so that they live in your life every day. You have a natural rhythm with them, like brushing your teeth. And when you do, you will find that even though you are moving through the sanitizer and the face mask and these parts, you don't have any fear. Fear what? Fear what? There's that part of caution and wisdom, and there's the other part that knows what level of antivirals you've actually digested in your being, so that an airborne bacteria, it can't survive. Period. Go in, can't survive. Lay on, can't survive. We bathe in turmeric. So we're going to talk about some of those what are our specialized COVID safety disciplines. This will come up in that first week. And again, this is now during that September 17th through 20th, right there on the fall equinox is when we're going to jump this off. Building your shields from the inside out. That's what I'm talking about. What shields exist in your immune system, so that you have a greater level of ease and grace, and don't be moving into situations out in the world in trepidation. And teas and baths and tinctures and medicine making, so that when you leave away from us for that weekend, you've actually gotten some recipes and things that you can employ at home, where you feel safe no matter how you are moving in the midst of the urban area. And of course, building strong relations with our herbal allies. Next, then, on September 22nd, and this is a temple time, our 90 minutes in the evening in our Zoom call, we'll be looking at chakra balancing. This came back to me really big, I guess, because I learned it. And, when they lay you out and someone tests to see how each of the power wheels or centers in the body are moving, okay, I'm just going to say, very few times have I ever laid anyone down to do that, and all of their wheels were moving sunwise in a very powerful area. In fact, I would venture to say that has never happened. And so whether or not from your top chakra here, seventh chakra up here, ordination, the third eye, throat, heart, your will, your root. And so it doesn't really work if, like, one chakra is going the right way, another one's going balanced, another one's blocked. So we're going to have an evening offering and teaching on September 22nd of chakra balancing. Some of the ways that we can do that. And we also, of course, underline or undergird, and we always do our curriculums with a look at Carolyn Mace's Anatomy of the Spirit, so that we can understand, things like judgment and unforgiveness, and where our resistance is to things. Where do these things live in our chakras, and how can we heal them? So it's definitely much more than just the chakra balancing or chakra alignment techniques, which we will go over, but it's also then becoming or remembering or reviewing for some what each of these chakras are meant to do at the height of their full power, their full circle, and how to recharge them, laying on of crystals or laying on of hands. If you have to bring your energy into an alignment to really hold some tough things. And I don't mind telling you that this quarter is based from really the equinox of September into November. And it's done so based on a number of things, the least of which would be the position of the planets, the least of which would be that larger evolution that will hold all of this cauldron of what's happening right here as we move to November 3rd or 4th. And lots of people in their political or protest or all of that, while big vibrations, there has to be somewhere to go after that. Yes? And so some of us begin to think, how are we doing December 1st? Okay? Yes, it's going to be, kind of a deal, and we are going to get through it. But then we have to begin to pick up the pieces to find those steps forward to close this year out in a good way and to move into a new vibration. This is a 4-year, 2020, of that next vibration, 2021, a 5 of a lot of changes. Don't you know? Don't you know that whatever comes in after the toddler has to not only do the housekeeping and, pick up all the pieces from Humpty Dumpty, but there are so many dramatic changes. Number one, to get to stabilize us back into, something we recognize as a decent humanity for everyone. And then also to take us forward, to say, okay, this is what we learned. We didn't just pull the Confederate statues down. This is what we learned. And I've been saying that in a number of groups that are now trying to go forward, but they try to go forward on that old hierarchical or patriarchal mode. And I go, no, we're not going to repeat that. Whoa, time out. We're not going to repeat that. Don't you know? Look at that. And so whether it's us or it's a pivot or a slight change that we now have to offer the next generations and our children, a wider scope, a broader view, so that we do not have the closed-minded prejudices or limitations or shortcomings in the power of our heart, the power to move with love and kindness to all, the power to really, really move in the golden rule. I will treat everyone else the very way that I wish to be treated. And to be able to do that like it's second nature, like it's breathing in air. And we're going to get there. We are. So that's the chakra balancing, September 22nd, mind, body, soul alignments, centering our core values for the coming cycles. If you don't know what you value, you are hardly prepared to protect it. So you have to know what you thought mattered a minute ago, maybe has shifted, and now maybe doesn't matter as much as some other things, So purification rituals for opening the heart, for expanding the consciousness, finding and maintaining inner peace. And that's no easy feat right out here. You can wake up with it, but depending on how your day goes, or if you have to go out in it, you might not be able to really anchor yourself or know your own medical astrology. What herbs, what crystals, what works with you, what should be anchoring you on your body as you move through where you have to go, what you have to do outside of your home. Learning how to dial back from the external drama and distractions, you know. And for me, it's been a very interesting balance. This week, not having any signal was just beautiful. I didn't even have to think where it was, or, no Rachel Maddow, no headlines. And yet, I would beam my light in my prayers in the evening and in the morning on what I knew was happening. What I knew was happening. Children are still in cages. We don't know if they found their parents. We got to pray for Florida and Texas and Arkansas, and we got to pray for the governors that hadn't figured it out. We prayed for Jacksonville. We have family in Fernandina, so we prayed for them. Give thanks now. They've come to their senses and have canceled the Republican convention down there. So that shining of the lighthouse light works, whether you are conscious of the particular details of the drama and distraction, or whether you just very broadly beam your light to wherever the darkness is on our planet. It works both ways. We love it. All right, September 29th, we're going to revisit the Celestine Insights, okay? So important. This past week, I was saying that people were asking, different things, and I think, in fact, it came down to one young lady was drawn toward having a pyramid as a symbol on her medicine pouch. I have a frog up on my awning up there. Hey. And we were talking about critical mass in ways that young people could understand, like that wide base of a pyramid is that, but you see it comes up to a point. And so critical masses are these energies that are growing and growing, like the Me Too movement or Black Lives Matter movement. And so they were wide and scattered, and now they're getting very concentrated. And oh my goodness, have you seen those folks out there in Portland, Oregon, mothers forming linked arms and veterans going in, and they're like, no, 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 okay, we're not that crazy. What do you think? Because if you'll do it to them, eventually you'll do it to us. So we're going to go on out here and act like we can protect one another, and we can stand up for one another. And many of these things, my goodness, I'm so thankful to have read the James Redfield work, Celestine Prophecy, Holding the Vision, The 10th Insight, Secret of Shambhala. So this evening on September 29th, we'll be going back through some of the wisdom of those insights and how to silence the noise, and conversations in what is true, not in its potential, or maybe what is true in your day-to-day reality, and balancing the give and take. One of the big pieces that humanity has to shift is this take, this consumer, more, that greed thing. And so when it is, and that happens even with people's energies, you see, it's possessions or their money or their privilege. But it is most importantly when you rob another person's energy. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. That's why, they were very guarded, for people, old people that raised us, they tell you, don't speak over an elder. Now you'll be needing that breath again when you're 90. And I found when I came into this teaching that although, many circles, talking sticks, here are protocols in our egg bays, you don't talk while another person is talking. You don't do it. You don't cut off their wind. You know what I mean? Even as I raised my children, they were never allowed to tell each other to shut up. Never. Because women historically have been beheaded and have had their voices silenced. So I wouldn't even tolerate it. I'm the mother of 3 daughters. I would not tolerate one daughter telling another daughter to shut up. We have to be responsible for our words. Be quiet. Can you speak lower? There's a way to address your same need, maybe, but not to say it in that way that stifles or attacks or assaults. Their level of empowerment. I mean, basically, that is what happens when you rob another person of their personal energy and speaking or expressing themselves. And we don't have that right. We should not have that right with each other. We should be more than allowing and willing. Like, the water runs until it runs out. And many times it's good. It's a self-discipline. Can you test yourself and allow a person to flow, even if they stutter, even if they take longer, even if they are not an orator, and it takes them time to gather their thoughts? Then your patience is being tested. Because really, if you are in exquisite listening, rather than trying to prepare in your head what you're going to say next, then you would never get caught in that trap of robbing another person's energy. Balancing the give and take and the emotional highs and lows. All this we are going to gather and work on then from those insights from the Celestine prophecy. And a little bit of self-care right here too. I find a lot of people, the least little things that I take for granted: blessing the head, blessing the third eye, blessing our feet, blessing our roads. How do you do this? What are the prayers? What do you use? And so a lot of people don't do those things. I do every day. Every day or every other day, some part of my being, my hands, and most of my prayers every morning. Ire bata, ire lo wo, ire ori. Bless my feet, bless my hands, bless my head. May my earthly head and my heavenly head be in alignment so they don't fight one another. There's no conflict. May my feet not destroy what I create with my hands. And so just that personal work of removing the contradictions or the opposing energies between what we say we want to do, or maybe even what we think we want to do, and then what we say we want to do, and then what finally winds up getting done. Do all those things look like they go together? Or are they all different and scattered? These are the things in self-disciplines that of course, with the loss of our mystery schools and then initiations and things like this, that bring you to a week or a month or however long of living in a temple where these things are what you do. You don't do anything else. And we're so thankful that we stayed a new priest for 3 years. Most people only do it for a year, but we stayed in the state of Yahweh for 3 years because we wanted to live with priestly disciplines for the rest of our life. And after 3 years, comes like second nature, and we do. So I think this is then the first that pushes us to that first Tuesday in October, the 6th. And I love when this one came down. I was like, ooh, House of Cards, Mirrors, and Glass. Shattering the illusions, exposing the shadows. So this is a heavy work. And again, our underlying book there is The Love and Destiny Cards by Robert Lee Camp. Wonderful work that he has done between astrology and historically, just the value of knowing what those suits and symbols represent, what the numerical frequencies represent, the ability to be able to look up your past life relationship with other people. Who are these people? Why did they just show up? Whether you knew them from this life or a previous life, and they come back to finish up some karma or to finish up some unparts of that relationship that you have not attended to. No sense dragging all that stuff around, and then you wonder why you're getting cluttered and scattered. So we're going to look at that. And so here's a little bit that came in, and where they give us these little pieces. I'm going to give them to you because I was in the osmosis again. This is in a tent with the little headlight beaming down. It was how we wrote all these notes. And if you are missing it or you come in late, you can rewind the video that you see then on our YouTube channel, or you can go to our website, which soon enough on the Mystic School of Alchemy page, the fall quarter offerings will be there. But we want to remind everyone that the adventure began as you left the dimension of the unborn child in your mother's watery womb to enter the earth school. And so I'd say that every time, I do readings or work with people in numerology. You weren't born the day before, you weren't born the day after. The day that you were born is your address into Earth School. And it is designed to give you a map if you'd like to take time to look at that map. Now, most people, I have found don't do it that way, but then now that we have GPS in the phone, some people don't even bother, if they're going to California or driving across country. I don't know. I think they let the machines map it out for them. Well, to a degree, the machines can help you here as you look up the astrology or see where the planets were or see what houses they were in and whether that affects love and marriage, friendship, inheritances, real estate, and on and on and on. Life, death, regeneration, and on, really, all the details of how our life can go started with your birth date. So, of course, those cards, what's in the cards for us? And then when we got to the mirrors, this is a really good work. And I don't know, this may even take like 2 Tuesday temple evenings. We'll see if because this is a pretty big chunk here. The House of Cards, Mirrors, and Glass. And the lesson of mirrors, of what it is that that big part of when you get triggered by another. Well, what just happened was you saw something in yourself that you never really liked in the beginning in this other person, and you thought you had a right to get mad or angry at it or react to it. And the reason you got really charged about it is because it does live in you. And the same thing when you may say very, casually to another person, something that hits them in a certain place and triggers them. Well, what just happened? Same thing. They saw something in themselves in your mirror that reminded them of an ugly place that they, had shoved under the rug. They didn't readily look at it. So the power of what we can learn from each other's mirrors and how to gently move into that in a very loving way. And again, what is the purpose of it? I totally get that. For my mom, my grandmothers, the aunties that raised me, when I looked into, I measured who I was in the becoming of by who I saw when I looked into their mirror. No doubt about it. And so, again, that SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and how do we transmute them or transform our weaknesses and or the threats to become our strengths and our opportunities. This is some really good work that's going to go on, and this is again what kicks off our October. Where are the intersections of destiny? Again, when you begin to do this dance in the mirror, you have such a really good opportunity to identify the common ground that we have with people that we may not agree with. We may have some real differences on the way we see the world, but the point is that that's a choice. We can either stay stuck in our differences, or we could really look and investigate and dig deeper, take the deep dive and say we're all humans. We're all humans. We bleed, we cry. Yeah, there has to be some common ground and we can find it. All right, and that last one, that House of Glass, I know we all heard that whenever we were judgmental or critical of another. The old people would tell you, why are you throwing that stone, honey? Like you live in a glass house. And when they said that to you, you recognize that as well as you could pick out the shortcoming of another, they most certainly could turn that back at you. And so why would you do it? Why would you do it? And so, we have to examine that, again, that pendulum. How far is our give and take? You know what I mean? And aren't we getting these big lessons now of people who don't want us to do as they do? They want us to do as they say to do. You see, same thing. It's like throwing mad stones while you live in a glass house, and we should not do it. And our choice and ability to expand our hearts through compassion, through grace. Some people don't know that, and it's just going to wear them out like times like this. It'd be so much piling on that buffet table that we have to figure out our soul's elasticity, like the sway of a willow tree. How much grace can we move with so that we don't put too much rigidness, huh? Because not everybody's running right out to the massage and tattoo parlors. And so you have to learn how to keep the tension that we absorb with some of these hard hits. Keep moving it like a river. Keep moving it out of the body, out of the body. And so, you know, we want to transform that energy of taking that we were talking about into receiving. Wouldn't that be wonderful if you never had to take anything because everything you needed, you received? Whoosh. I'm loving that, loving that. Yeah, so that's our first kickoff in October, which I think is going to be pretty daggone special. And what else came up was the Path of Ascension guides. This comes out of our light workers teaching, and the Ascension guides are really, we saw it with Grandmother Flora de Mayo. You know, star seeds are really becoming easier and easier and easier to recognize. And they are ascension guides. They are way showers. They are those who can tell you how to lift your sights. And your feet might never leave the ground, but you have lifted your sights and your heart to another place and are embracing your ascension. Not fearful of it. You know, it's not like an alien abduction. You're moving up. When you find that you're tired, exhausted, worn, feeling like, you know, you've been run over by a Mack truck or a moving freight train simply because of the amount of toxicity and negativity that you're taking in on a day-to-day basis, you have to have tools and regular disciplines and spiritual practices to keep healthy your path of ascension. So that comes to us on that second week of October. Seemingly, this is going to be a little edgy. We're going to see where we are with all the stats and the numbers by that time. But it is so very much our hope that some of our communities will be able to come down and celebrate, because, you know, Oyo Tunji, of course, in this has pulled back on having the big all out like today. We're in the festival of Shango, but we do the main little rituals, the egg bays, you know, no more than 10, 12 people here. But normally, where there's normally 50 or 60 people filled, the village filled, drummers and people moving all over, vendors and everything like that. We're not having that. It's a pandemic. But on that King's Day, it would suffice to say that in our hearts, we hope it will be a grand time, even if we do find a way to do it smaller and some of it virtually. We're looking forward to it as a seal for our chieftaincy, which we took on in 2015, and it's now time to seal and confirm it. And so that's out there right on that first weekend in October. I wanted to mention it. I don't know that the Earth Skills gathering, I know they were trying to figure out a way to go back into the woods again at a very small level. We gather in Seneca, South Carolina, so we're watching very carefully what the numbers will be, and we'll keep you updated on it. But that's right in that second week of October. So yeah, it's a little bit edgy in terms of the October month, but it's right around there at the end, of course, as we move into the season of Oya and Wedo, or as you call it out here, Halloween, the season of All Souls, Dia de la Muertes, that we're going to do the second camp out. Much cooler for those that don't like the low country and the heat and don't want to come in around September. I don't blame you. It will definitely be really nice and coolish at the end of October here. And yeah, I'm just seeing some kind of wonderful masquerade. Isn't that, doesn't that seem, yeah. If the whole world is going to go to wearing masks for safety, it seems like we could have some kind of cocoa level celebration of the ancestors come the end of October and nearing to the close of our fall quarter of the Mystic School of Alchemy. So that, you know, in a nutshell, kind of gives you a picture of where we're going with it, and how this path of the lighthouses and self-care and holding on and building on what we have gathered in our tool bags and our medicine bags so far, and how we now take that forward, because hey, the leaves do fall off the trees. Okay, if you are at a loss of like where we're going from here energetically in the West Gate, consider the season itself. The season itself transforms us from all out summer, you know, lay in the back, sunbathe, chill out, take a swim, that kind of thing, to the depths and the cold of winter. And while I'm thinking about it, I think it's the coastline of Texas that I saw getting really kicked hard by Hurricane Hannah, another one headed to Hawaii. So lighthouses. There's no lack of where we can beam it to. And you know what? It's like today, as I was praying this morning early when I got up to do my temple duties, I began just meditating about being with you all today. And it was like my lighthouse became a spaceship. I can't even describe it, but I'm gonna hang out more there in my sit spots this week. Was like there were not gadgets, you know, there were devices built into the walls of the lighthouse that it's kind of like, okay, I can give it to you, thank you very much. So, and I forget his name, but you know, the man in the wheelchair there at the school for gifted, Xavier's school for the gifted for the X-Men. And so when he would go out to see all of the mutants and all of the souls, so inside my lighthouse looked like this. It looked like I could feel the veins of everywhere, so I would know, like a radar, where my light was moving. And as I was praying for the people in Hawaii and praying for those poor people getting flooded, getting bammed in on the coast of Texas, you know, I was like, oh, I never even thought about that. I've been in like this ancient, like almost cave-like lighthouse, when my lighthouse has moved toward the future already and just lit up. And so I was really excited about that in terms of what it would do. And it's amazing. I mean, I just have to say, I'm excited about it. I think you should be excited about it. If you're not excited about it, it's probably because you haven't just full out exposed your gifts. I mean, the other day I had, you know, I could hear the phone beeping somewhere. I had no idea where it was in the RV, and I just put it out there, like on one of those scanners in the lighthouse, and say, okay, I need somebody to call me right now. So the phone will ring and I can find it in here in in the RV. And of course, someone called. That's what you do. You just put it out there. You make that connection happen. And we're going to do more of it because we have the ability to do it, and we were born to do it, and we were born for this time of how to manage this evolution to the new earth. So I see I kicked over 10 minutes into JWoww's time. Oh, how dare I? But I've enjoyed it, and I'm glad that it is recorded, as I am every week, so I can look back and kind of catch up on the little parts and more parts that we need to put out on the website and social media and my Yellow, waiting for me because I did ask to just have from 1 to 2. She has some ceremonies that we have to do this afternoon. So it's just been my pleasure. JY, I wish I could hang out with you, but I really have to run on and enter into these ceremonies for the
Yes,
particular
ma'am.
people that